counting calories is freaking challenging. It really is. And so, any program that bases its weight loss off of counting calories all the time is going to fail because, in my professional opinion, 0.001% of the population is going to actually track their calories for the rest of their lives. When you heal the body through lifestyle, the need for the medication to override that crap, it decreases. No, fasting is insanely powerful, and it blows my mind when people say no fasting. I'm just like, I just don't understand how you could advise against that. So with the food, guys, we can make this as simple as we possibly can. Like, we don't need to overcomplicate it. That's one of my favorite things about this protocol is I think the longer fasting rounds really do give you a luxury that you wouldn't otherwise have. So you also probably know about the long fasting that's around the corner. We're going to get you to the point where you're doing long fasting. Let me put that on silent. So you want to choose a date right now in anticipation of the future of when you think you're going to be doing the long fasting. So I'll share with you kind of how I do it when I go weekly. So usually I like to do my long fasting during the week when I'm more busy. So most people are like that unless you work on the weekends. But so I'll usually fast from Monday night to Wednesday night. And so dinner Monday night, so basically normal day eating Monday, finish dinner, and then I go all the way till Wednesday night, right? That's a 48-hour fast. So in that scenario, I would weigh myself Tuesday morning. And you really want to be particular like that, because when if I was to weigh myself Wednesday morning, it'd be past 24 hours. I'm going to drop a ton of water weight and then I'm going to regain it. And so some people weigh themselves every day, and I try to, if you're already doing that and you want to keep doing that, you totally can. It just becomes a bit of a headache trying to decipher all that. So I strongly recommend don't weigh yourself every day. Weigh yourself once a week and weigh yourself pre-long fast. So right now, because it's going to take a few weeks before you get to the long fast, just choose your weigh-in date now in anticipation of that future projection of when you're going to be doing your long fast. The other part of it is that the other weekly habit is your injection. And so out of curiosity, how many of you guys are already on injections before us? Okay, so one person. So for the rest of you, I recommend that you synchronize your injection dates with your weigh-in date. Should be easy, no problem, because you haven't started yet. So that's going to be no problem. Amy, for you, you don't necessarily need to switch your injection dates to synchronize with the weigh-in dates per se. You could, you have to be careful to not double the, increase. And I would rather you skip an injection so that you can catch up. You don't have to, though. The reason, though, why I bring it up is because sometimes the injection doesn't last 7 days in terms of the appetite suppression. And so the worst thing you could do potentially is do your injection right after the fast, right? So now you got the whole 6 days before you get to the next fast, and you might not get that appetite suppression. So as long as you're not doing that, Amy, depending on when you choose, you can keep your injection date there. Or if you do need to move it because it kind of falls there, then go ahead and skip the injection and then sync back up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. So most important thing we're going to talk about, there's a lot, but the most important thing is going to be the first concepts of the weight loss plateau, and then we'll talk about fasting and food. And so I'm going to go through each of your guys' cases one by one. A lot that we're going to learn from each other, which is why I do it on these small formats. Okay, so let's start with Deborah. All right. So Deborah, you are looking to just going through your notes here. And you haven't been on the medications too, as well as what I see.
The what?
You haven't, sorry, the medications.
No, haven't started. No, never took it before.
Perfect. Do you happen to know roughly how many calories you think you consume per day, or you've never counted calories?
No, that's how I got into this mess.
Right. Well, here's the thing, counting calories is freaking challenging. It really is. And so any program that bases its weight loss off of counting calories all the time is going to fail because in my professional opinion, 0.001% of the population is going to actually track their calories for the rest of their lives. Like it's really tedious. You might do it for a couple months because you're excited, but it's just not going to work long term. In theory, though, if you didn't mind and you did do it for the rest of your life, you would have a very strong statistical advantage. It's not reality. So, okay. Now, did you see this? Do you remember reading about the section, what I call calorie counting consciousness?
No.
Okay, basically what I talk about is the fact that, okay, counting calories every day is too much, but there is an improvement between never counting calories, which is basically counting for a couple of weeks every year. If you
Mhm.
count your calories for a couple of weeks once a year, what you do is almost calibrate, meaning you kind of go, wow, that's what 2000 calories looks like. And it's like a gut check. And then the rest of the year, you can kind of reference without having to count.
Sure.
You're less likely to overeat and you're less likely to undereat because you had that reference. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. So I want you to start counting your calories. Now, let me ask you, in the last month, 4 to 6 weeks, have you started any sort of diet attempts? Have you tried to eat less? Have you tried
Yes.
exercising?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Within the last month.
Okay.
I
And
cut
have you
back,
started losing weight?
I mean, I know how to do it. I've done it before, I mean, I've done things. I've fasted for 9 months on one of those medical weight management
Oh,
deals.
wow.
And, um, and then I've done like the clean keto stuff where you're following a specific plan where every single day you got to follow the meal prep I dropped weight doing that. And then I went rogue and then I went on my own and just did whatever
Like,
the
I'm
hell
gonna
I
figure it
wanted
out.
to do. And I'm in the wine and spirits business, so I'm surrounded by, extremely good food and wine. And I mean, I live in Northern California and just incredible in wine country. So yeah, so there's a lot of temptations and when you go rogue, you could go
Yeah,
crazy.
totally.
So, but yeah, reeled it in about a month ago. Um, and with the whole sugar, carbs and all that, flour, took all the bad stuff away, cut back on drinking a lot.
Good.
So I've already started, just because I knew I was like mentally preparing myself and getting my body ready. And I just did a 10-day cleanse. In
Nice.
fact, I did my blood work in the middle of that cleanse.
Okay.
And I guess, my blood was pretty good. So I've
Fantastic.
really prepped myself for the transition.
So let me ask you, with the changes you've made, it sounds like you've been losing weight in the past month.
Yes,
Okay,
I dropped like
fantastic.
10 pounds of inflammation alone
Good, good, good,
during
good.
that cleanse.
So that doesn't mean, so let me take a step back, guys. We're talking about whether or not you're in a weight loss plateau. And really, by that, do we need to do a reset? That's really the question. And sometimes we do a reset even if you're not necessarily stalled yet. Although the general rule is if you're in a stall, you for sure need to do a reset. But that's why we're having this back and forth. And so you're losing weight, which is good. You don't know how many calories you're consuming, though. And so, for the sake of the experiment, go ahead and start counting your calories.
Mhm.
And then your homework is for the next 3 to 4 days, however long it takes you to count your calories, and then go, okay, I'm on average eating, say, 1,200. Once you have a representation of what you think is probably what you've been averaging, shoot us a text message on the Flow hotline, and then we're going to establish yes, reset. Or if you come back and say 2,000, for example, it's like, okay, great, you're eating enough. No reset needed. Does that make sense for your starting point there?
Sure.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. Any questions on your starting point, Deborah? Just for the plateau sake.
At what point are you going to tell us like, specifically how many grams of protein you want us to have?
We're going to go over fasting and nutrition next.
Okay. All right. That's all.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Yeah, for sure. I like to do things in sections with you guys. So,
Oh, and by the way, I have hit so many of your lives. I'm Chamomile 73 on my TikTok.
yeah.
And we've talked before because my inflammation marker was really high last year when I did we were you were talking about CRP at the time and I chimed in and I was diagnosed with leaky gut, which I
Yeah.
think I'm still battling. And I think you threw in there to do some slippery elm at night or whatever else because my naturopath gave me Glutashield and that was it and said don't eat these things because my food sensitivity was off the charts, like beyond abnormal.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm
we're
still
gonna
kind of dealing with the aftermath of that. So I think by doing this too and eliminating any alcohol whatsoever and just kind of limiting my, kind of being strict, the leaky gut thing's gonna heal up as well.
Oh, it will. Remind me when we get to the supplement section. There's a couple extra supplements that I want to recommend under the gut health section.
Okay.
Yeah, so remind me when we get there. But yeah, glutamine, slippery elm. If you want to make a bigger investment, BPC 157 is a powerful peptide. And so we could talk about that in a little bit too as well.
Okay.
That's the most powerful gut healing thing that I have on
Okay.
that. Okay. So Amanda, so
Yeah.
same questions for you. Looking at your notes here, do you happen to know how many calories you think you average?
1,500.
Okay. And how long have you been aware that you've been eating about 1,500 per day?
Probably about 6 months now.
Okay. And have you been losing weight at all during the 6 months? Has it slowed down and stopped?
It is drastically slowed down. I went from probably about 250 to 200 in 6 months. So
That's aggressive,
225,
right?
sorry, 225 to 200 in about 6 months, and just kind of stopped. A year ago I was at 250. So just kind of started picking at fitness, and then just kind of changed what I was eating and how I was eating.
Yeah.
I
Well,
consumed,
congratulations for kicking that. That's really good. You lost 50
well,
pounds.
I'm in the military, so they kind of kicked my ass at the same time. So I had
Yeah.
to change some things in my life. I eat roughly about 134 grams of protein a day.
Okay. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
When did the stall happen? When did the weight loss?
Probably about a month and a half ago. And then that's when I kind of was looking on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok, and then found you on TikTok and kind of went about that.
Fantastic. And no GLP-1s, no other weight loss medications, or perfect. Okay. So reset is needed for you.
Okay.
But 1,500 is not too bad. So let's start you off at 1,700 calories. Okay, fantastic. All right, Kayleen. So where are we at? Perfect. Okay. So I see keto. You're not too excited about keto. I see that. I hate keto too, trust me. And we're gonna get into we'll table that for how we can approach that when we get to nutrition. You like the idea of microdosing. So is that any just because the concept kind of resonates with you?
Yeah, so I went about 3 years ago. I went to the doctor for autoimmune and issues I was having, including leaky gut and rheumatoid arthritis, and my CRP was through the roof. And I went on a complete overhaul of food, eating, supplements, and herbs through this MD who chooses to use all natural methods. He's veered his practice. And so I went from about I didn't weigh myself very honestly at the time, because I just didn't want to, but I know I was at least 220, if not 230.
Totally.
And I got down to about 176 eating clean keto. So just meats, veggies, supplements, herbs.
Awesome.
And that was over the course of about a year and a half. And I maintained that weight for another year or so. But this past year, I found it harder to stick to clean keto, because I'm not even eating eggs or dairy. I was eating just meat and veggies, and only certain veggies. And I just, after like 3 years, kind of felt like, grr, and I was definitely plateaued. And I never did calorie counting or anything. The weight loss came from inflammation and getting rid of carbs, and definitely helped correct some of my insulin resistance. So I started seeing about GLP-1s about a year ago, and I felt like a lot of the stuff women especially were talking about addressing felt very familiar to me with the things it was helping them with. I'm not one for medications at all ever, and so microdosing or intermittent use kind of caught my eye. I saw the doctor, is it
Tina Moore. I'm not sure. Yeah, Dr. Tina Moore is the only other one that talks basically like we're twins. It's kind of crazy when I barely heard of her 4 months ago too. So
yeah, so I was really listening to all of her things, but she does not practicing, like she's not helping people actually do it. So when I saw you, I thought, okay, I feel like my body's definitely still at a weight that's too high for it to be totally healthy. I took a break from eating perfect clean keto. And by that, I don't mean I eat like chips and bread. I ate more fruit, and I included some dairy and eggs. And I did, over the course of those past few months, probably gain about 10 pounds. I'm, 10 to 12 pounds, which shows me I still have some insulin, my insulin.
Some insulin resistance. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking to drop the rest of the weight to really kind of hit health. I
Yeah.
feel like GLP-1s in lower doses, microdoses, and or intermittent use is something that seems to be helping correct some of the issues. So that's kind of where I'm at. I have not been counting calories. I've been eating quite a bit, actually. I've not been trying to lose weight. And especially since watching you and knowing I was going to do this, I went ahead and just was like, well, I'll just do my own reset.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've been eating well, still very healthy, no carbohydrate, like other than fruit. Other than I've had a couple meals of sushi because that's like a favorite that I hadn't had in years.
Yeah, totally. So you know that your intake has been much higher the last couple of weeks.
Months.
All right. We're ready for this. And you know, it's not surprising that you gained a couple pounds after keto. And I got the feeling without you saying it that you're a little sick of keto. Is that did I pick that up? Okay, I picked that up.
Yeah.
Look, anybody is sick of doing the same freaking thing. So this is like one of the underlying themes that I try to really, as you guys hopefully will pick up if you haven't already, maybe you already have, like I want to make this as sustainable because I have to live this lifestyle with you guys. And so you need variety and you need ease of implementation. Like that's the two priorities. And so keto for life is challenging for most people. And then carnivore is even more freaking challenging, which just blows my mind when I see people trying to, I'm going to do this for life. It's like, you really think you're going to eat meat for the rest of your life? That's it. You're just never going to, it's like, they're not being honest with themselves. And so I hear you. And the good news is the intermittent approach towards the longer fasting is going to be a much more sustainable thing for you. And then, you know, cycling keto is a strategy we can look at with you if it gels more with you. I wanted to clarify, you said you want to microdose intermittent use, but you haven't started any GLP-1s, correct?
So I do want to do microdosing and or intermittent, depending on what my body needs. I don't know, given my metabolic current state, that microdosing would be enough. So what I did is I received my peptides last week, and I did not want to start with a full 2.5 of the tirzepatide because I was very nervous. I'm very sensitive, my body too, usually to anything.
Yeah.
I did not want to start with that dose because I just know myself, and I would rather. So I did like 12 units instead of 5 units.
Did you feel
I did notice 2 to 3 days where I felt like I could eat and then just kind of stop eating. Like I didn't have no appetite. I just felt like I could start eating and then be like, that's enough, even though I didn't feel full, which is unusual for me because I usually don't stop unless I feel full, and it's hard for me to feel full. And then that kind of wore off, you know. So I think that next time I will bump it up a little bit, but I want to be careful with how slow I go. So I've just started, but not the full initial dose.
Totally. I see some people talking about microdosing intermittent usage like it applies to the beginning. And so you obviously are very well versed on this. 100% agree. I was going to say that, but you beat me to it. Is like
If you are enjoying watching these clips from my coaching calls and my community, guys, I have thousands of like-minded individuals who are kicking ass. Click that link. I'll put it in the description of the video where you can set up a free consultation to discuss exactly how my individuals are achieving lasting weight loss utilizing microdosing and intermittent use protocols. Now, back to the video.
Microdosing and intermittent usage is you got to earn that. You really do. Unless you are an individual who's already you got to be primed up, I guess is a better way to put it. Really, you don't have to be insanely healthy, but you got to be pretty decently healthy for a microdose to actually have an effect, which is why the standard research shows every 4 weeks, you got to bump it up. Every 4 weeks, you got to double, which is insane, but not to them because they don't do the stuff that we're doing that Dr. Tina Moore taught you. So we're doing all this other cool lifestyle interventions, which are also simultaneously doing a lot of the same stuff. They're healing the body. And therefore, when you heal the body through lifestyle, the need for the medication to override that crap, it decreases. And so we'll get you guys to the point where microdosing intermittent uses is going to be good as a possible way to sustain for the rest of your life. So fantastic. Okay, so no reset needed, Kayleen. So that's fantastic. You're going to be able to roll right into the program. And we're going to talk about fasting and all that next. So, all right, Desiree. So you were on semaglutide last June and you lost 20, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you stop it or you're still on?
No, I stopped it. I originally got on it because I was going through IVF process, and so they needed my BMI lower. And so I stopped it, not because I wasn't enjoying it. It's just I decided to stop the IVF process after the first fail. And since I was no longer their patient, they couldn't prescribe anymore, and my primary doctor would not give it to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sorry that you go through all that. That sounds like a gnarly experience for sure. How long has it been that you've been off now?
I got off in December, so I was on it from June till December.
June of last year.
And the lowest I got was the 155, and I maintained that for a little bit. And then April came around and summer vacations, and it just threw me off that. And so now I'm back up to the highest I've ever been.
Okay. Okay. Well, you're not alone. This is what's happening to a lot of people. And I think that's why platforms like what Dr. Tina states and what we do are really starting to take off, because there's more to this magic bullet, right? It's a magic bullet, but we got to get the lifestyle down. And so that's, we're going to get that going for you. So probably no reset is needed, but I mean, do you happen to have any awareness of how many calories you think you've been averaging?
Well, lately, like I say, since April, I just kind of gave up and was just doing whatever. But when I was tracking on my fitness pal, I was maintaining like 1300, and keeping up with my macros and stuff, and I was trying to maintain it. And then I fell off.
So when you were counting 1300, you have a memory of what that looked like, right? Like quantity rise. Now, Are we eating a lot more than 1300?
Oh yeah.
Totally. She's like, oh yeah, no, and
I'm like more, yeah, it's just, I just feel it just with my appetite being off it, and I'm eating way more now. And I think that's why I gained so much weight, is because I'm working from home now. And so that has a factor where easy access to the fridge and snacks and DoorDash and all that good stuff, that I don't have a routine like from when I was in the office, when I would have my lunch, and it was too inconvenienced to drive anywhere for anything unhealthy. And so I'm trying to get into the new routine of, still meal prepping, like if I was going somewhere, and keeping up with the workouts and stuff like that.
Fantastic. Okay. So yeah, same thing with you, no reset, and then we're going to roll right into everything. Awesome. Okay, last but certainly not least, we have Amy. Amy. Okay, so hello. And I see that you are currently on 10 milligrams of tirzepatide. How long have you been on it?
Probably last quarter of 2022.
Okay.
Long now.
And are you still losing weight as of the last 2 weeks?
Oh no.
She's
No,
like,
literally. No, like literally. I was on the prescription version till June of last year when everybody else got bumped out, and the weight loss pretty much stopped after that.
Gotcha. So let's see. Okay, so I see that you lost 57 pounds back then, and then you just been stalled since then.
Yep.
Okay. So do you happen to know how many calories you think you average?
I don't. I will say that when I was losing weight before, I was more consistent with keto. I was doing some intermittent fasting. But the medical place that I was under did not want fasting. So they were very negative about that. And I haven't gotten on a good schedule since then. So try to, but if not, gotten in a regular routine and schedule of it, because it seems to be the only thing that works for me.
Yeah,
it's almost no carbs and I will not lose weight.
Yeah.
It's the fasting.
No, fasting is insanely powerful, and it blows my mind when people say no fasting. I'm just like, I just don't understand how you could advise against that. But okay, so we're not sure how many calories we're eating. It sounds like it's been a while. So let's go ahead and kind of put you in that to be determined category. I want you to start counting your calories for a couple of days. Once you can get an idea of like, okay, I've been eating X amount, shoot us a message, and then we're going to establish reset, yes or no.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, guys. So we're going to get into fasting now. And remember that the only modification to fasting, if you are in a reset, is that we don't go past stage 1, intermittent fasting. So you can do intermittent fasting during the reset, but even if you struggle to hit your calorie goals, then maybe you shouldn't fast. Like you don't have to fast during the reset, but I'm saying it's okay if you want to, because yeah, it'll help. just the overall sort of starting point of what we're trying to accomplish, but hitting your calorie goals is the most important. And then if you're not in the reset or you're finished, then you can dive into the longer rounds of fasting. So, okay. When it comes to fasting, after intermittent, which again, that's your daily 8-hour eating window, compressing it to 8 hours is ideal. The rest of the time of the 24-hour cycle, you're considered fasting. Stage 2 is 24 hours. So that's getting into a 24-hour rhythm. Most people usually do dinner to dinner. And once you get comfortable being able to do a 24-hour, then you try to get to 24 hours in a single week with 3 days apart. That's stage 2. Once you're comfortable with that, then you progress into stage 3, which is what I call the flow stage. And this is a big hump, right? This is a big jump where this is the first time you're going to bed after not having eaten all day, right? So if you finish dinner Monday night, it's Tuesday night, you go to bed, you feel pretty empty. It's weird if you've never done it, trust me. But then you wake up the next morning and usually you feel great. You might be really, really hungry and you might feel not hungry. It's so different for everybody. You're already in 34-hour phase. Once you can get to that stage right there, 34 hours, you wake up the next morning, do not do that twice a week. You are now back to once a week. And then all you're trying to do weekly is increase that to 48. Whether you could do that your first time or whether it takes you 3 or 4 weeks, that's totally your choice. The main takeaway of this is you are progressing yourself through these stages of fasting. Meaning if you want to get there as fast as you possibly can because you want the best results and you're in a hurry and you're just a type A kind of personality, let's do it. You're going to get faster results, but you might run into more resistance. You likely will run into more resistance. And you don't want to take a loss on that. Understand that this is a lot that we're asking our body to do. Even though the body does have the ability to do this, it's like pulling a chainsaw out of a freaking garage that's been sitting there for 20 years. You're asking your body to tap into fat stores and feed itself for freaking 2 days. Like should be really easy for your body to do it, but it's not because none of us have ever put that demand on our body. So like anything, though, it'll get easier and easier. I will say this, though, as you're making your choices to progress yourself either quickly or slowly, keep in mind if you are under a lot of stress, if you have stress issues, if life is crazy right now, then I'd probably go a little slower, because we know your body's already under more stress. But if you're like, life is smooth, is easy, and I'm ready to rock and roll and you want to push yourself fast, go ahead. So just think of me as the metaphorical spirit that's guiding you guys, but you guys are driving the car. And so if you want to take the scenic route or you want to hit the gas pedal, I'm here for you and I will course correct at any point. And 48 is obviously not a magical number that all humans respond to, but we put that as the template and the goal, and we modify that number for each of you guys as we progress and see how you respond. So we're going to talk about food and supplements next, but do you guys have any questions about progressing yourself through fasting?
I do, yes. As far as what if you're feeling weak and famished and you're lightheaded? I know you're taking electrolytes, but I've noticed myself, if I push myself too much, I'm like, oh,
Totally. And this is where I go, great question. This is where I go back to you are choosing the speed. So resistance is expected. And you just gave a good example of what that might look like. Tiredness, brain fog, crankiness, irritability. It's like, okay, well, I don't know how much of that you can handle based off of your life and your stress, or how much you are willing to handle. Those are two different questions, right? Those are variables that are individual to you. And so I'm okay with you pushing yourself through that. I want you to push yourself through that within your desired limit. Now, where you call it quits and you eat is sort of hypoglycemia, which is a medical condition, which, by the way, guys, is really rare to happen. It can happen, but it's very rare. And so where you would stop your fast would be, confusion, extreme exhaustion, like I can't move. It's cold sweats, clammy feeling, anything like that just seems like an actual condition concerning, just stop. And if you're not sure, it's always better to play it safe. If you never felt this way and you're concerned, stop and eat. And if you start getting those kind of things, which are very rare, let us know. Go get yourself a blood glucose monitor, because we want to see is it blood sugar issue or not. And again, only time that kind of stuff happens is if you're a diabetic on a bunch of other medications, or you have some other specific medications that kind of mess with this. But let us know if that happens, although it's very rare.
So water only.
The goal, yeah. So water, coffee, tea, electrolytes. I'm okay with Nut Pods creamer, which I've talked about as it's a sugar-free creamer. It's coconut only, so there's fat only, and then your fish oil from your supplements. So basically, it's 0 calorie, but I'm saying there's going to be a little bit of fat. Now, we're going to talk about food and we're going to talk about fat bombs. Fat bombs basically are fat, and fat can be a good appetite suppressant. And so if you end up eating 500 calories of fat, that's still an amazing caloric deficit. It's not the goal, but fat can totally be a stepping stone as you progress yourself to the point where you don't need it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I
Any
have
other?
one more,
Yeah, Caitlin, go
I
ahead.
have one more question. Because when I was doing clean keto, and I have done intermittent fasting a lot for decent amount of times, but not like 36, 48 hours. But I did do ketone powder packets. Is that okay with this, or do you prefer no?
Yeah, no. So exogenous ketones are fascinating. They get marketed like, unfortunately, uh, marketing companies take advantage of whatever the hell they can say, to sell you. So get into full-blown ketosis by taking ketone bodies. Well, not exactly true, because anybody consumes ketone bodies exogenously, and you measure your blood, you're going to look like you're in ketosis. But measuring that you have ketone bodies in your blood versus endogenously producing them, meaning actually producing them yourself, are two completely different things. And so now, with that being said, exogenous ketones are great, and there's so much that we don't know about them, but there's nothing to concern yourself with them. They can be a great appetite suppressant. Some people feel better on them, and so you can absolutely use those again as a stepping stone. But I would make it to the goal to be, and I just want to save you money too, that the goal should be that you don't eventually need them, but you can use them situationally. So with the food, guys, we can make this as simple as we possibly can. Like we don't need to overcomplicate it. That's one of my favorite things about this protocol is I think the longer fasting rounds really do give you a luxury that you wouldn't otherwise have. You get away with not having to be as strict with your diet. Now, not that I want us to be able, fasting and taking the medications and eating like junk. That's not what I want, but you get my point. Is I want to make it as easy as I possibly can. So my 90-10 rule, that's what I'm asking you guys to do. Give me 90% clean during the weight loss portion. I want to get you to 80-20, 75-25 for life. That's my sustainability stuff, but 90-10 during your journey. And so 10% is going to be all your junk food, all your processed food. That's your alcohol. You ideally shouldn't be drinking alcohol, period. But if you feel like you need it, keep it in, reduced amount in that 10% of your calories. So when I mentioned Paleo Mediterranean, these are just great representations of well, really what this is an anti-processed food diet. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes, like it's basically it. But there could be some other foreign foods as well. As long as it's not processed and always organic, if you can work it into your budget, would make a tremendous improvement, sometimes more for others if you have food sensitivities. But this is how simple the diet needs to be. And the only modification to that is ideal but not required would be keto. And I say that because Kayleen, I remember that you're not a fan of keto, at least, and I totally get why. I would say, if you're okay with doing it for 2 or 3 months, great. But if it really does kind of like give you the just an uncomfortable feeling because you did it for so long, then don't worry about it. If your body tells us something different, then we might modify that later. But in general, for the rest of you guys that haven't done keto as long as she has, there's absolutely a benefit to your body for doing it for that 2 to 4 month period. And then 2 to 4 months later, you're losing weight, you're feeling really good, things are going smooth. I do want you guys to introduce carbohydrates back into the protocol, just because it's like a good litmus test. Because if we can introduce carbohydrates, not low to high, but low to moderate, right? And you're still losing weight, that's a really good sign. That means we've restored some of that insulin sensitivity. And so this is a test that we'll do with your body, 2 to 3 months later. So, and then breaking the fast, as you guys read, kind of its own rules, basically just starting off really slow, small amounts, easy to digest food. That's why it's always bone broth. Soups and bone broths are the best thing to do. Lean proteins, and then it takes a full 24 hours to kind of to restore normal GI function after you break a 48-hour fast. Expect diarrhea. Don't freak out. expect it for a couple weeks, honestly. And then as you start getting more accustomed to this, you start learning, okay, what can I eat and what can I eat? How quickly can I eat? How large of an amount can I eat? It's all individual. You guys are going to be playing with this, making it so that the goal is, you know how much to eat, how quickly you can eat, and you feel fine. You know, diarrhea, indigestion, which are kind of GLP-1 symptoms too. So you're going to have to compare what your normal GLP symptoms look like to this, and use the difference as a sort of a gauge to make choices as you get more accustomed week by week. It gets really smooth and easy, and you learn your body after a while. Like I love hot sauce, and I can have hot sauce no problem, but I can't have hot sauce when I'm breaking my fast. Even the smallest amount of hot, and a lot of people are sensitive to hot, spicy foods when they're breaking the fast, because it's tough on your digestive system. And so digestive enzymes could be awesome throughout the whole program because of GLP-1 meds slowing down the food, but digestive enzymes can also be beneficial if you just have struggles with that day or so when you're breaking the long fast.
If you guys enjoyed watching this video, then you're going to want to check this one out. I get into a deep dive over GLP-1 medications, peptides, and lasting weight loss, guys. We'll see you later.